Hey guys, it's and today I haven't seen a tutorial out there about this, so we're just going to write a save and load function in C++ for gameplay attributes if you're using gas. So wherever you have your save and load events, your save data file should have could have a variable with all your attributes and their values. So after we save, we just set the variable and then we can load by taking it in. So that's all we're gonna do. At the end of it, you can see if I start a new game, I have 0 energy, but all of these items, and I have all of this set up as gas attributes. So if I have 273, now I have 12, 16, and 10. When I hit exit menu, I save my game. So then I can quit. And then when I come in here and I hit continue game, I still have 273 energy with 12, 16, and 10. And then if you don't save the game, if you just start a new game because you didn't save, then you go back to 0 and then 20, 30, and 10. And at the end of the tutorial, you'll just be able to have these quick functions in C++ to do it. So let's get into it. Wherever you have, wherever you're going to put this, your save data, that's up to you. But ufunction macro, we're going to do blueprint callable and category equal base gas character. And the return type, right, on save all was a T map of F gameplay attribute and floats. And we're going to call save all attributes. It's not going to take any arguments. And the other U function that we're going to write is blueprint callable, and it's category base gas character. And this is a void return. This is load all attributes. But guess what? It takes as an argument a T map of F gameplay attribute and floats that we're going to call in attribute. Now, make some definitions. Make some definitions. I'm going to throw some debug in here too. So hopefully this will be good. All right, let's start by declaring our map. F gameplay attribute float local map. And we need to make a reference variable T array of F gameplay attributes. And we're going to call it local attribute array. We need one of those because we're going to use our ability system components, and we're going to get all attributes. And that takes an array of gameplay attributes by reference out attributes, and we're going to send it a local attribute array. And now we're going to do a quick check if the local attribute array dot is empty. It returns a boolean if it's empty, and if it is, you have a problem. So you're going to UE log. This is log temp. This is a warning, and the text macro is going to say no attributes found on this component to save. And that's a problem, right? You're expecting there to be some. Else, if the local attribute array is not empty, then we're going to run a for loop, and we're going to, for each F gameplay attribute that we're going to call attribute that we find inside the local attribute array. For each F gameplay attribute that we're calling attribute that we find inside the local attribute array, what are we going to do? We're going to make another reference variable. It's going to be a boolean, a b found attribute. I'm going to set that equal to false. And then we also need to save the value. We're going to get the value of each attribute and attribute value, and we're going to set that equal to, you can call ability system components. You can call get gameplay attribute value, and it takes 2 arguments. The first one is your attribute that you need to get the value of, and the second one is a reference boolean that if it successfully found that attribute to get that value, if that was successfully done, it will return true by reference. So we're going to put found attribute there. And then now that you have that by reference, you can say if found attribute you can take the local map, and now that we know that we have an attribute, we can add to it the attribute and the attribute value. And then what I want to do is UE log. Oh, hang on. First, this is going to be just debug stuff, and an F string is going to be the attribute name. And we're going to take the attribute and run get name. And now we're going to UE log. This is log temp. Excuse me, I had to sneeze. This is log temp display, and the text macro is going to be this is saved, because this is going to be the name and the value after you saved it. So saved attribute name, and then string, and then attribute value, and then floats. And to fill in the arguments, we need a pointer to attribute name, and then we just need the attribute value. So then that'll read out what are the values of all of your attributes right after you saved them. Just in case you want to know that. And if you don't want to use this, just comment it out. It's just optional debug if you don't want to use it. And then you just want to return the local map, right? Now you're done with it. And that's how you save. That's how you save. And how do we load? Well, we have a map, so we need to iterate. For iterating over a map, for auto, and we're going to call the element, we're just going to call the element attribute, and we're going to look through the in attribute map. And what are we going to do for each one? Well, we'll do debugging right here. We're going to tell you the value of it right before you load it, right? What's the value of it right before you load it? Let's make sure that lines up. So we're going to get the attribute name here. And you get that by getting the attribute. This is the element, so you need the key out of it, right? The key out of it is the fGameplay attribute, and you can run get name on it. So once you have that, just do the log again. UE log, log temp, display, text, and then this is loading attribute name. Type string, attribute value, type float, and we need to point to attribute name, and this is attribute dot value this time because the attribute is the name of the element and the value is the float, right? The attribute or the key value is the float. And then now that we've got the log, how are we actually going to load the attributes is very simple. You just take the ability system components and you run apply mod to attributes, and it takes 3 arguments. And the first one is the attribute it takes, which is going to be the attribute.key, right? That's the fGameplay attribute is the key. And then the eGameplay mod op enumerator option is going to be override. And then the third one is what are you going to override it to? And that's again the attribute dot value. That's the float. And then that's it. Now you just loaded all your stuff. And now this is optional debug. So if you want to put a comment here, set this bool to true if you want to see debug log with loaded values, and then we're just going to be debug, and we're going to set that equal to false, again, so if you just want, all you have to do, if you want to see the values of, okay, now you know what it was right before you loaded it, well, now you applied to the mod to the attribute. Okay, so now it's loaded. If you want to see the values of those numbers again after it is loaded, you just come in here and on this debug, you just set it to true, right? And then you'll be able to see this, but by default, I'm leaving it on false. So if the debug, we're going to do essentially the same thing we did back up there. Get all the attributes and spit the values out. That's all we're doing. So we need to make a T array of F gameplay attribute and local attribute array, right? And then ability system comp, we're going to run get all attributes passing in the local attribute array. Right, and then we know it has attributes. I don't have to do that if it's empty. So for each F gameplay attribute, we're calling debug attribute because we already called the element. We called the element of the map attribute, so we have to call this debug attribute that we're going to find in the local attribute array. What are we going to do? Well, we're going to scroll down because we're at the bottom of the screen. For F gameplay attribute, oh yeah, we're gonna bool b found attributes, set that equal to false, and then we're going to make the float of attribute value and set that equal to ability system component get gameplay attribute value, passing the debug attribute and the b found attribute by reference. And then same thing, if we found attributes, but this one we're just gonna just print the debug log. So f string attribute name. This is debug attribute get name. And UE log temp display. Text macro is going to say loaded attribute name type string attribute value type float, and this is going to be pointing to attribute name, and then we're going to do debug. No, what did I call this stuff? Attribute name and attribute value. Attribute name and attribute value. Text. UE log. Okay. And that's how it all works. And then there you go. Now you've got save and load. You guys have any questions or comments, let me know.